Hey everybody, welcome to this week's edition of our midweek devotion. We are stopping what we're doing, whether you're working or doom scrolling or whatever, and I'm going to offer a word of grace in an otherwise not graceful world. In this week's, we're going to hear from the book of James. One of the things that's interesting to me is about how the more things change, the more they stay the same. The Epistle of James, a New Testament book written to the church in the first century, was written to a world very different than ours. They did not have air conditioning or pasteurization or fiber optic internet or cameras or women's rights or adolescence or colleges, or you get the picture. In many ways, our world has progressed from theirs. I, for one, wouldn't want to trade out any of the things I just listed to live during Bible times, especially air conditioning, if I'm honest. I like it to be cool. But then James brings up a topic right at home in any time and place: favoritism. He writes, "My brothers and sisters, when you show favoritism, you deny the faithfulness of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has been resurrected in glory." That's James. Apparently, the church James was writing to had a problem showing favoritism to the rich. The church preferred people whose pockets were deep, giving them special treatment, rolling out the proverbial red carpet, and kowtowing to their whims. What would favoring the rich look like? Well, asking for their opinion on all manner of things, showing special attention to their wants, and maybe bypassing the normal rules of decorum. Those are my initial thoughts. James offers a scenario where a person in fine clothes is given the seat of honor at a church service, while a person in rags is stunted to the side, forgotten. It's not hard to believe James is addressing behavior that's rampant in his churches. But who can say why they did it for sure? But we can imagine a couple reasons of why they showed favoritism. We can imagine because it is still a problem we face today. Favoring the rich is an evergreen temptation. Wealth is a tool that can be used to alleviate suffering and inject hope into situations of despair. It can be used for good. But showing favoritism is against the ways of God in at least two different ways. The first is the erasure of the person. We reduce a person of means to only those means when we show them favoritism because they're rich. They are rich, and so we imagine what all their money can do for us. We don't allow for the complex nature of that person to come to the foreground, their preferences, their subtleties, their fears, their dreams. We fall into the trap of reducing a whole person to just one thing, as if you knew everything about them because they're rich. It would be like if you thought you knew everything about me because I'm a pastor or a Cubs fan or an introvert or whatever. However, the second problem is much more insidious and is what James is actually getting at. Showing favoritism to the rich shows a lack of understanding of the ways of our God and the gospel. God again and again chooses people who are the exact opposite of who and what the world values, and that's who God chooses for his purposes. Abraham was old. Moses couldn't talk well. Rahab was a woman of the night. Jeremiah was too young. Mary wasn't married, and Paul had murdered Christians. It says Paul wrote to the Corinthians, but God chose what the world considers foolish to shame the wise. God chose what the world considers weak to shame the strong. And God chose what the world considers low class and low life, what is considered to be nothing, to reduce what is considered to be something to nothing. So no human can brag in God's presence. This is the way of the cross. God acting in and through the low places of life in the world to bring hope and redemption and resurrection. God is in and among the least, last, lost, and little, whether it is the experiences of our life or the people with whom we come into contact. What the world considers least or last or lost or little, God considers just his cup of tea. This isn't to say that God doesn't value or love or want the rich. It's just that God does so irrespective of their socioeconomic status. God values and loves and wants the person. And we would do well to value and love and want them only as much as we are willing to value and love and want the one who showed up to our door with rags. And if we find ourselves failing at this today, it might be a good time to confess and return to Jesus simply by trying again. Thanks for joining me for this week's midweek devotion. If you feel convicted or liked what you heard, please like it or share it with someone who you think needs to hear it. You're also invited to join us for worship on Sunday morning. We gather at 10:30 in person online. But